I've read thousands of cruise reviews. The worst cruise ever ones, and I'll never sail again ones. And the pattern I keep seeing is that it's almost never the big things that people spend months stressing about before they board it. It's either a bunch of small things that wouldn't even register on a regular land vacation, or something that quietly crept up on them that they never even thought to prepare for. If you're new here, I'm Kat, and after years of cruising and booking hundreds of clients, what I noticed is that the things that ruin cruises are within your control a lot more than you think. So let's start with the first one. Sometimes the thing that ruins a cruise isn't even an actual problem. It's the way that people get emotionally attached to it after it happens. One cold steak at dinner, one frustrating stop at guest services, and all of a sudden, that defines the whole trip. Now, I see this all the time in cruise reviews, Facebook groups, and comment sections. Somebody has a negative moment, and by the time they get home, that one moment turned into proof that the entire cruise was terrible. And to me, that's where the real problem starts. It's not with the cold steak, it's not with the long line, it's when one imperfect moment becomes the lens for everything else. Because every vacation is not going to be perfect. I don't think I've ever had a land vacation that was 100% perfect from start to finish. Things happen. You can go to your favorite local restaurant, have one bad meal, and you still go back. You don't decide that the whole place is a disaster and swear it off forever. Well, cruises just get judged differently. People spend months planning them, researching them, watching videos, building them up in their minds, so when one little thing gets wrong, it feels bigger than it really is. And here's the reality. A cruise is a floating city. There are thousands of people on board, there's a ton of moving parts, and a lot happening all at the same time. So yes, sometimes things are going to be off, and that's normal. The real question is whether that issue stays that one issue or whether you're going to let it shape the rest of the trip. And I'd love to know what you think. Have you seen these reviews and thought, wait, that's what's ruined the whole cruise for you? Drop it in the comments below because I'd love to see what you've seen. This one doesn't get talked about often enough, and I think it's because people feel a little guilty admitting it. I travel with large groups fairly often with my friends and family and travel advisor groups, and I have seen firsthand how group dynamics can completely shape in a positive way or completely sink a cruise. I've sat at dining room tables where conversation drifted into some controversial political topic and just exploded. The whole dinner was gone. And that kind of tension doesn't stay at the table. It follows the group around the ship for the rest of the sailing. And then there are smaller versions. You've got one person in a group who is loud, who dominates every conversation, who has already decided what everybody's going to do at every port, and the introverts in a group are just quietly miserable. They spend the whole time feeling like they just can never fully exhale. Mismatched travel styles is a real thing. One person wants sea days and pool time. Another person has every port day scheduled down to a minute. And nobody had that conversation before they booked together. So the exact same cruise with a different group of people can feel like a completely different vacation. Not every group travels well together, and not every cruise works for every group. To put it bluntly, if you have some relatives that you can barely make it through Christmas dinner with, booking a 7-night cruise is probably not the right move. A ship can feel like a city for about 5 minutes, and then it gets really small very fast. Sometimes a cruise can go exactly how it was designed to do and still disappoint the person that booked it. And that's what happens when the cruise itself isn't the problem. It's the mismatch between what somebody expected and what they actually chose. I see it all the time. People book a massive family-friendly megaship and then they can't believe that there are families everywhere, kids running everywhere. Part of the problem is that people are building those expectations from marketing, social media, and highly polished cruise content. Everything looks beautiful online. The pool decks look empty, the food looks amazing, the experience looks effortless. But that version of cruising is usually the highlight reel, not the full picture. And that's one reason I care so much about giving the real version here, because a lot of cruisers are not disappointed by a bad cruise. They're disappointed by the gap between what they pictured in their mind that cruise is going to be and what it actually was. There are quite a few examples of this. A short party sailing is going to feel different from a longer itinerary with more experienced cruisers. A port-heavy itinerary is going to feel very different from a ship where the whole point is to enjoy the ship itself. So the reframe here is simple. The cruise may have been perfectly fine. It just may not have been the right cruise for you. And that's a much more useful way to look at it, because once you know the difference, you stop asking, was this a good cruise? And start asking the better question, was this the right cruise for what I wanted, and what should I choose next? And real quick, if this is resonating with you, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. I'd love to know that you agree. Sometimes the same exact cruise can feel completely different depending on when you take it. We're talking same ship, same cruise line, same itinerary, totally different experience. Let me tell you a quick story because this is exactly what happened to us. Years ago, we booked a 3-day cruise on Norwegian Joy, and it had all-inclusive alcohol, sounded like a great time for a quick getaway. What we completely failed to think about, and didn't even cross our minds for a second, that sailing was during spring break. And so that ship was full wall to wall of drunk college kids. The vibe was just completely different from anything that we were looking for. And it genuinely turned us off Norwegian for about 6 or 7 years before I gave them another real shot. Now, here's my take on this. It was not Norwegian's fault. It was our fault for not thinking through the timing. The ship was fine. The cruise line was fine. We just picked a sailing in the worst possible time for what we were looking for. Now, I see this happen constantly. People sail the Caribbean during hurricane season and then complain about the weather. They cruise over major school holiday and then they complain that the ship feels busier, louder, more chaotic than they expected. And in most cases, the frustration gets directed at the cruise, when timing was the real issue all along. So you didn't necessarily pick the wrong cruise. You might have just picked the wrong week. This one shows up on many European itineraries and Alaska sailings, and it's sneaky because you don't feel it coming. Here's what happens. You have a big port day. You're off the ship by 8 in the morning, you're walking cobblestone streets for hours, you get back exhausted, you have dinner, maybe catch a show, and then you wake up and do the same thing again, next day, and then the day after, and the day after. And by day 5 or 6, you're running on empty. But because you've saved up for this trip and you don't want to miss any single thing, you push through. And instead of actually enjoying the cruise, you're just getting through it, checking boxes, going through the motions. And that's cruise fatigue. And the reason it catches people off guard is because in the beginning of the cruise, everything feels great. You're energized, you're excited, you're making the most of every moment. And then somewhere around the midpoint, it hits that you're just tired. And the trip you've been looking forward to for months starts feeling like a second job. So the fix is actually really simple. And it comes down to giving yourself permission to slow down. Build intentional rest into your itinerary. Decide in advance that some port days are going to be slower mornings, maybe not 6 in the morning every morning until 7 in the evening. And sometimes on sea days, don't plan any shows or anything. Just relax and rest, and it's going to help you get through that week without that exhaustion. Sometimes the current cruise somebody is on never even has a fair chance because some people are measuring it against another one that lives in their head as that perfect cruise. And once you start doing that, almost anything in front of you is going to come up flat. And I've been guilty of this myself. I've had some amazing cruises over the years, and for a long time, I would catch myself thinking, is this one as good as the other one? Not in a dramatic way, but just that low-level background kind of way. Food was better on that sailing. Remember how much fun we had on that one on those shows? And it put a damper on some trips that, looking back, were actually really good trips. So the problem is, where there are so many variables that can change from sailing to sailing, and you're comparing timing, itinerary, weather, the people you're around, your mood, expectations, there are just too many things in life that all come up together into one trip. So if you're trying to recreate a feeling, and most of the time that feeling can't be recreated exactly the way it happened the first time, you might be disappointed. So what helped me stop doing this was asking myself a very simple question. Would I rather be sitting in the office right now or be on this cruise? Because that's really the alternative. And when I framed it that way, it snapped me out of comparison mode really quickly. So you're still on a cruise. Even if there are a few more things that you don't love on a ship, you're at sea. You're far away from your regular routine, and that matters. And the moment you stop comparing where you are to where you've been, you actually start enjoying where you are a lot more. Sometimes people get on a cruise already halfway decided that they're going to find something wrong with it. And when that's the mindset, they usually do. I think experienced cruisers are especially prone to this because the more you cruise, the more you notice. You know what good service looks like. You know what a great sailing feels like. You know what the food is better when the entertainment is stronger. You know when the flow of the ship just works better. And that can be helpful. But it can also turn into walking around the whole week quietly keeping score. And when something falls short, it's noticeable. The service falls off, the crowd is annoying, the music is too loud, the chairs are always taken. And before long, you're not really experiencing the cruise anymore, you're evaluating it. So here's the uncomfortable truth. If you're looking for flaws, you will absolutely find them. No cruise is perfect. No ship can possibly be perfect. No vacation is perfect. But cruising was never supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be enjoyable. And I think the important difference is once your goal becomes finding the perfect cruise, you're actually setting yourself for disappointment every single time. If your goal is to enjoy the cruise you're actually on and overlook those small imperfections, then they really stop carrying so much weight. And what contributes to that is a whole list of things that people tend to stress months before they even sail. And I cover all that in this video next. So make sure to watch it next. Thank you for watching.